History is full of details that sound impossible until you trace them back to the record. In the next few minutes, you'll see how one decision, one rumor, or one strange survival changed the story completely. Heraclitus may not have died that way at all. The Dung story may have been a joke, not a report. Heraclitus came from Ephesus, a city inside the Persian Empire, and later writers remembered him for hard ideas about change and tension. Centuries later, a comic death tale attached itself to him, turning his philosophy into a scene that could be retold as ridicule. That kind of story spread because it was vivid, and once repeated, it could sit beside serious biography as if it belonged there. So the lesson is modest: ancient thinkers were not only preserved by argument, but also by the stories later people told about them, including a stray document. Handwriting analysis suggested the Voynich manuscript was probably written by 5 scribes, not one impossible author. The Voynich manuscript is a centuries-old book filled with unfamiliar writing and strange plant drawings, and scholars have long tried to understand how it was made. Lisa Fagan Davis, a medievalist and paleographer, compared the letter forms and spacing and saw patterns that fit multiple hands instead of one uniform writer. That finding changed the immediate question from finding a single author to tracing a collaborative process inside the manuscript itself. It also gives historians a practical clue: the book may reflect a shared workshop, not one solitary mind, which helps frame the surviving document as an object with a making history. British troops turned Boston's Old South Meeting House into a horse riding hall. Before the war, it was a civic gathering place in the center of Boston, used for sermons and public meetings. When British forces occupied the city, they repurposed the building for drilling horses inside the open hall. The change was immediate: a place for public voice became part of an army's routine and control of the city. That reuse left a clear record of occupation, showing how a single decision could reshape a city landmark without destroying the building itself. Setkia Dewey stood out because a Burmese royal court welcomed English lessons and a telescope. She was the chief queen of Minden Min, and her rank came from a royal family already close to power. What set her apart was curiosity. She is linked to English study, Western astronomy, and a telescope gifted by a British envoy. In a court built on hierarchy, that gift showed diplomacy could open a small space for learning across cultures. Setkia Dewey's story matters because it shows a royal woman using rank to meet new ideas without leaving the court behind, and the telescope became one trace of that exchange. After her 2 daughters died, Saint Monegundis chose to leave married life and live in solitude as an anchorite. In the early Middle Ages, family duty and religious devotion often shaped each other, and widows or married women could seek enclosed spiritual life after loss. For Monegundis, grief did not stay private; it became the turning point that led her from household responsibility to religious withdrawal. The immediate result was an anchorite's life: enclosed prayer, strict routine, and a social role defined by separation from ordinary domestic life. Her choice shows how early medieval holiness could grow from mourning, not certainty, and how one household decision could leave a lasting trace in memory. Povilas Matulionis was not just Lithuania's forestry pioneer, he also worked as a director, organizer, mapmaker, dictionary compiler, textbook writer, and poet. He came of age when Lithuania needed both modern science and a stronger public culture, and forestry became one place where those needs met. The turn was his range. He did not stay inside one office, but helped build systems on paper and in practice, from forest plans to language tools. From July 1919 to January 1924, he served as Vice Minister of Agriculture and State Resources, carrying those skills into government work. What survives is not one title, but a trail of forests, books, maps, and a public role that linked nature with national life. Jimmy Lawrence was reported killed in action 3 times, even though the reports were wrong. He was a professional footballer in the First World War era, when news moved slowly and often arrived through copied lists, not direct confirmation. The contradiction came from wartime reporting: names could be repeated, records could lag, and one mistaken notice could echo across newspapers and offices. Each false report forced another correction, leaving clubs, readers, and relatives to wait for the next official word instead of a clear answer. His story shows how a single wartime record could outpace certainty, and why later historians have to rebuild the trail from surviving documents. They were called the Hat Trick General because they topped 3 military institutions, and that rare record became the nickname. To understand it, you need the simple rule behind the label: 3 top graduations from 3 different military schools or commands signaled exceptional standing. Bambang Trisnohadi's career shows how that pattern worked, with major posts from defense strategy to regional command and territorial command. Once a title like that entered public speech, it followed the officer beyond the classroom and into promotion lists, briefings, and news coverage. So the nickname was less about drama than about record-making success, and it shows how institutions can turn a line in a file into a lasting public name. Those are the kinds of details textbooks usually skip. If you enjoyed this deeper look at the past, subscribe and tell us which story surprised you most.